Greetings, one and all, and welcome to episode number 36 of Thoughts and Hunches Making Money in Bunches and Sucker Punches, Season 2, Episode 3. Your boy Stoney is back for the 36th time, and I'd like to welcome all of my fellow scumbags, lowlifes, hoodlums, fienders, hustlers, degenerates. You all can't get enough. That's why you come back week in and week out. Just for the love, and just for the juice, and just for the action. So we're back again. Rough week last week, NCAA wise. We haven't really found our groove yet. 6-11 NCAA. That's the worst week I've had since I started doing these. NCAA football wise, clearly my worst week. I mean, not even close. I mean, I finished nearly 62% last year. Right now, I'm 13-19 after 2 weeks in the NCAA. The good news is we completely turned it around and bounced back with a hot NFL Sunday, thanks to the dogs. Nobody takes dogs in week one. Everybody takes the favorites. The odds makers don't know what the numbers are. The odds makers still don't know what the numbers are, which is why you find so many numbers right now between 2.5 and 3.5. If you just look at all the numbers, there's plenty of them out there, and they're all right there. That means the odds makers don't know what's going on. All right. So last week, the underdogs, get this, went 12-4 against the spread. Right? Tampa Bay on Thursday night, right? Dallas covers, Tampa Bay wins, right, in the very first game, and then it's bookended by the Raiders winning outright on Monday night. The underdogs won 12 out of 16 games, 12-4, and they won 8 of them outright, which is insane. Underdogs won half the NFL games outright. Didn't need the point spread, just won them outright. So it was pretty crazy week one, but we wound up 8-2, right? So, I mean, that ain't too bad. That turned our week into a 14-13 week, which, considering where we started at 6-11, we will gladly take, right? So going in now to week 3, we're sitting at 22-21 for the season. 1 game over 500, 13-19 in NCAA, and 9-2 in the NFL. So it's time to turn our fortunes around, NCAA-wise. NFL, we're doing fine, right? Who knows how long that's going to last. But NCAA-wise, now is the time. We're going to start heading forward and start pushing it, start upping our bets and just going big, right? So with all the dogs and everything that covered, it was just a crazy week, right? Just the only other news that I really had was, I know we're all sports fienders and degenerates and we watch TV and we watch all these sports games. Is anybody tired of seeing Jamie Foxx for the BetMGM app, right? Oh, hitting overs, hitting unders. Jamie Foxx don't know shit about gambling. What the fuck's he doing out there talking about us degenerates? Please. Right? Just because you're on there, he's on there to get the non-degenerates to sign up for these websites. But whatever, I'm just tired of seeing him. I see him 5-10 times a day, and it gets worse on Saturdays and Sundays during football season. So anyway, all right, we're going to get started, and we're going to go big. We're going to go quick. We got a lot of plays this week, a total of 29. So let's see what we can do and what we can accomplish. Week 3. We start out in South Florida. Donnie O will be in attendance. He will be barbecuing. He will be there in all of his green and orange. He'll be hyped up for the Canes. The Canes, the 24th ranked Miami Hurricanes, are 16-point chalk against Michigan State down at Hard Rock. This is a 12 p.m. start, noon Eastern. Miami's coming in off of wins over a loss to Alabama and a win over Appalachian State. We've seen both games. They were both nationally televised. Bama rolled them. App State, they won but didn't cover. Michigan State comes in 2-0 somehow, right? An impressive win over Northwestern to start the season, which nobody really saw coming, and then the blowout of Youngstown State last week. So Michigan State comes in 2-0. They're still not a very good team, and they're going to get beaten pretty soundly here tomorrow. But I'm going to take Michigan State. I like the points. 16 points is big. Uh, Kenneth Walker the third right now is running like a man possessed for Michigan State. 264 yards rushing against Northwestern. Last week, only 7 carries for 57 yards in the blowout win. They wanted to keep him healthy. But Kenneth Walker's their go-to guy. And they're gonna keep the pressure on Miami so Miami doesn't run away and hide. Take Michigan State, take the points plus 16. Game 2, also 12 Eastern. This one's in Norman, Oklahoma, third-ranked Sooners. 19.5 point chalk over Nebraska. This is a classic rivalry game from back in the day where they played so many times. Now they don't play anymore. They're in different conferences ever since Nebraska moved on to the Big Ten. Oklahoma's still ranked third. Nebraska's still struggling. Leave a comment if you know what struggling means. Anyway, Oklahoma ranked number 3. They come in off a 5-point win over Tulane in week 1, and then a 76-0 blowout over Western Carolina last week. But they didn't play well against Tulane, and Spencer Rattler is still their guy. He's the quarterback. He's the Heisman front runner. At least he thinks he is, and some people think he is, but there is no Heisman front runner in week 3. Nebraska, on the other hand, they lost to Illinois. Very disappointing loss to start the season, but they bounced back with wins over Fordham and Buffalo. Both cupcakes, but they won by 45 and by 25. Adrian Martinez right now is starting to play better. Nebraska's starting to look better. And I just don't see Oklahoma running away and hiding. This game has too much at stake for Nebraska. Now, don't get me wrong. Oklahoma can win this game by 30, but I just don't see it. I see Oklahoma winning by 17-20, but not by more than 3 touchdowns. So I'm going to take the 19.5 and take the Huskers in Norman. 2 games, 2 double-digit road dogs. Game 3, we're going to take another road team, but this one's a favorite. Also noon Eastern. This one's up in Bloomington, Indiana. The Hoosiers are 4-point dogs to 8th-ranked Bearcats of Cincinnati. Indiana comes in losers to Iowa in week 1, where they were just completely blown out by 28. Then they turned it around and beat Idaho by 42 last week. Cincinnati hasn't really played anybody. 35-point wins over both Miami of Ohio and Morgan State, but this is the first time they're going to be tested. Alabama transfer running back Jerome Ford has just been a beast so far. 121 yards against Miami of Ohio, 113 yards rushing against Murray State. He should be able to keep that going against Indiana, whose defense isn't all that. Michael Penix Jr. is the machine that makes Indiana go, and he's going to need a huge game for this one. And I just don't see it. I think Cincinnati's defense is too strong. Luke Fickell's done a great job building it, and I see the Bearcats getting the win on the road and the cover, -4. Bearcats by a touchdown. Game number 4, we move on to Boulder. The Colorado Buffaloes are 2.5-point chalk against the Minnesota Golden Gophers. Minnesota comes in, they lost to Ohio State in week 1, tied the point spread. They played pretty well, but not too great. Then last week they played Miami of Ohio and didn't play well at all. They won by 5, but didn't come close to covering the 19-point chalk they were. So, and I'm a huge PJ Fleck fan. I've said it all along, right? He's one of my favorite coaches. And, between him and Dino Babers, I love these guys, right? But right now, Minnesota's just, and they're disappointing to me because I was expecting them to be playing better. Now, I could be wrong. They could go into Boulder and win this game by a couple touchdowns. I just don't see it. Colorado played really, really well against Texas A&M. They lost 10-7, and they led for most of that game. And that was enough that for me. That was all I needed to see. Texas A&M is a top 5 team, and Colorado just outplayed them, and Colorado should have won that game. They walked away with a tough loss, but in here they're going to get the win. All they need to do is win by a field goal. This is going to be a good game. This is going to be a very good game, one to watch if you're not watching any of these other blowouts that are going on. But I like the Buffs. Take the Buffs. Lay the 2 in a chunk. Moving on, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, Kansas State versus Nevada. This one's in the Little Apple of Manhattan, Kansas. Nevada comes in winners over Cal and Idaho State. The problem is Cal isn't very good. Cal ain't going to be very good. So that win kind of doesn't really do much for me. Doesn't move the needle. Idaho State is Idaho State. What are you going to do? K-State beat Stanford. Then they beat Southern Illinois. They've looked good so far in both games. And it all starts with Deuce Vaughn. Yeah, when the deuce gets loose, good things happen. K-State in this one, plus 1.5. I don't know why they're dogs in this game, but I'm going to take the home dog plus 1.5 and watch the Wildcats cover in the Little Apple. Next up, 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, we've got Notre Dame and Purdue under the watchful eye of Touchdown Jesus. This one should be a good one also, but well, it's allegedly supposed to be a good one, but I don't see it. Purdue's coming in winners over Oregon State and UConn. They look okay, but the talent level's just not there. Notre Dame, on the other hand, is 2-0, but they're 0-2 against the number. They didn't cover against Florida State. They didn't cover last week against Toledo, who actually came from behind and turned that into one hell of a game down the stretch. But Notre Dame covers, they get the win, they take care of business, and they stomp out Purdue early and often as 11.5-point chalk. Take the Irish, lay the lumber. It's rare that I like to lay double digits, but every now and then, you just got to say what the, you know the rest. I'm not going to pull a Lenny Dykstra like he did in the 30 for 30 and just drop F-bombs left and right. I already did earlier, but anyway. Moving on, 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time, the prime time, well, not the prime time, but the biggest matchup of the day is top-ranked Alabama heading to the Swamp down in Gainesville to take on the 11th-ranked Gators. The fact that these two teams haven't met each other in the Swamp in 11 years is just, I can't even fathom that. I don't know how that happens. Yeah, they're both in the SEC, but one's in the SEC East, one's in the SEC West. I get that. But the fact these two teams go so far, so long without playing each other, these two storied and rich programs, they should be playing each other more often. Anyway, Alabama comes in, blowout winner over Miami in week 1, blowout winner over Mercer in week 2, but they didn't cover last week. Florida, on the other hand, comes in winners of their first 2 games. Florida Atlantic, South Florida, their first, obviously, their biggest test of the season. They come in as 14-point chalk, double 2-touchdown chalk, 2-touchdown dogs at home. So here's the thing. I always have this thing about Alabama, and I've been taking them over the years, and just, who cares? Lay the points. Watch them win. Watch them win. Well, they didn't cover last week. They didn't cover against Notre Dame in the college football playoff. They got backdoored in that one, and they could get backdoored here. This is a perfect opportunity for Florida to backdoor them. This quarterback, Anthony Robinson, he's a dual threat quarterback, and he's really, really, really dynamic. If you haven't seen Florida play, he does a lot. Now, Bryce Young, everybody knows what he does, and this and that for Alabama, and Alabama's loaded, the best team in the country, all 5-star recruits, this and that. But over the years, the one thing that I don't want to say has given Nick Saban's team trouble, but the one thing that has given Nick Saban's team trouble is a dual threat quarterback. Think of Johnny Manziel, think of Deshaun Watson, think of Taj Boyd, think of guys like that. Right? These are guys that can run, that can throw, and this guy right now, Dan Mullen's doing an incredible job. Robinson's running the offense really well. I'm going to take the Gators. I'm going to take the points. Now, if Bama wins by 30 points, is anyone going to be surprised? No. Well, some will, but I will. I don't see it happening. I think Florida keeps it close enough where they can get that backdoor cover, and Bama wins by 10. Yes, I said it. Bama wins by 10. Florida gets the covers. Gator bait. Moving on. We move to the Liberty Bowl, about 3 hours west from here. Memphis versus Mississippi State. We got a good one here at 4 p.m. Eastern. Mississippi State comes in. Winners of two of their first two games. La Tech and NC State were both their victims. And Memphis is also 2-0 with wins over Nichols and Arkansas State. So Mississippi State comes in 3.5-point favorites. The more impressive resume. They're playing well. They're looking good. They're getting things together. The question is, can they continue? I don't see it today. I like Memphis in this spot. Seth Hennigan, the quarterback, is really playing well, and I think he can carve up Mississippi State's defense and watch Memphis leave with a win. It's an upset. It's a 3.5-point dogs. I think Memphis can get the win. If they don't, I'll take that hook and watch them lose by a field goal. But Memphis wins. Memphis gets the cover. Take the Tigers plus 3.5. Moving on, 7 p.m. Eastern time. South Carolina at number 2 Georgia in Athens, Sanford Stadium. Going down there these days to play between the hedges is no joke. Sanford Stadium is a house of horrors for everybody because Georgia's defense is that legit. And they've shown it in their first two games when they completely stifled and shut down Clemson in week 1. They did it again last week against UAB. And today they're playing a South Carolina team that's off to a 2-0 start. Yeah, their wins are against Eastern Illinois and East Carolina. But South Carolina's got something going on right now. And 32-point favorites, I can't, right? If Georgia wins this game 33-0, you can call me the fool. But in the meantime, I'm going to take the Gamecocks. I'm going to take the 32 points and laugh all the way to the bank. Moving on, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, Virginia, North Carolina, classic ACC battle. Doesn't get any better than this, whether it's basketball, football, or whatever. They're in Chapel Hill tomorrow. The Tar Heels come in ranked number 21. They lost to Virginia Tech in their opener, bounced back with a blowout win over Georgia Southern. They came in with lofty ranking and a lot of talk, a lot of buzz surrounding them, saying that they could be the team that could unseat Clemson this year. I'm a big Mac Brown fan. I'll always be a big Mac Brown fan. But Virginia right now wins over William and Mary and a very impressive win over Illinois last week. Yeah, Illinois is not very good, but they beat them up, right? Virginia's playing really well right now. Virginia had lost 7 straight in the series, but now they've won the last 4 in a row in the series. They don't have to win to get the cover. They're 8-point dogs. I'm going to take the 8-point road dog in Chapel Hill and take the Cavs. Next up, 7:30 p.m. Eastern time, another very good matchup. Auburn, 22nd ranked Auburn, heads up to Happy Valley, and the famous whiteout at Penn State against the 10th ranked Nittany Lions. This should be a good one. Penn State comes in 7.5-point chalk at home. They got wins over Wisconsin and Ball State. The Wisconsin win was very impressive. They did it with defense. Auburn comes in with wins over Akron and Alabama State, so they're clearly taking a step up. Here's the one that gets me. This is the first meeting, Alabama's first time playing a Big Ten team on the road since 1931. 90 years. It's been 90 years since Auburn has played a Big Ten team on the road. Crazy. Anyway, I like Auburn. I think 7.5 is a big number. I like Penn State. I like both these teams, but I like Penn State more. I think Penn State is gonna do some damage in the Big Ten this year, a lot of damage. And I'm a huge James Franklin guy, but 7.5 is too big of a number. Bo Nix, the quarterback for Auburn, is gonna get his points, and watch out for that backdoor cover. Auburn gets the cover at plus 7.5. in University Park. Moving on, 8 p.m. Eastern, I will be in attendance. Right down the road, about 10 miles, Stanford versus Vandy, the two Brainiac schools playing each other, meeting at Vanderbilt Stadium. This is going to be a good matchup. It really is. You got the two schools that are known for their academics and not necessarily for their athletics, although Stanford does have a rich history of athletics, though not necessarily in football. But they've been a good team the last 15 years, but the last 5 have been lean. And David Shaw got them together after a loss to Kansas State in week 1. They bounced back and pummeled USC on the road at the Coliseum last week, in a game that actually got Clay Helton fired from his job. Vanderbilt, on the other hand, they lost to East Tennessee State, FCS school, in week 1, but they bounced back with a blowout of a fairly easy win over Colorado State. These two teams are going to get together. There ain't going to be much scoring. They're going to keep it under. They're going to keep it under the total. The weather's going to be great, but I will be there. I'll be in attendance. Don't know who I'm rooting for, because I like Vandy. I like Stanford. Doesn't matter, right? I go there as a innocent bystander. Take the under. 49. This game's going under the number. Moving on, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, Tulane at Ole Miss. They head to the Grove in Oxford. Hotty toddy, hotty toddy. If you haven't been to the Grove in Oxford, you're missing out. It's one of the best times you will have. Anyway, Ole Miss comes in 17th ranked. They're 14-point favorites over Tulane. Winners over Louisville and Austin Peay. And Tulane, after losing to Oklahoma in week 1, but only losing by 5 and getting the cover, they impressed a lot of people. Then they came and beat up on Morgan State last week. I like Tulane. It's too big of a number. Ole Miss wins this game, but not by more than 2 touchdowns. Take Tulane plus the 14. 9 p.m. Eastern Time, Oklahoma State at Boise. They head up and play on the Smurf turf. Boise lost to USF in their opener and beat UTEP last week. Today, they're 3.5-point chalk at home against the Cowboys, who come in winners of their first 2 games. They beat Missouri State and Tulsa. Neither one of them were very impressive, but quarterback Shane Illingsworth is really something else. And here's the thing. Oklahoma State is starting to win games with defense. This is not the same Oklahoma State team that we've known over the year. They're going to have their hands full trying to slow down Hank Bachmeier, the quarterback for Boise. He's really something special. I think he's going to be in the NFL in a couple of years. But I like Oklahoma State in this spot. 3.5-point dogs. I will take them on the road on the Smurf turf. 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time. Arizona State versus BYU, 2 ranked teams. The Sun Devils come in ranked 19th. They're 3.5-point chalk on the road in Provo against the 22nd ranked Cougars. BYU beat Zona in week 1 and beat Utah last week in the Holy War. And Arizona State beat Southern Utah and UNLV 2 cupcakes. Well, this is clearly their biggest matchup to date. I fear a Holy War hangover for BYU. They played really well against Utah and beat a pretty good Utah team and beat them pretty convincingly. Well, Can BYU start their season by beating 3 straight Pac-12 foes? Granted, it's Zona, it's Utah, and it's Arizona State. They're not exactly playing Oregon and Utah State, and USC. But either way, three wins over the Pac-12 to start the season would be very impressive. Problem? Not going to happen. Take the Sun Devils, lay the 3.5. Sun Devils win on the road. Moving on, 9:45 p.m. Eastern Time. At the Rose Bowl, 13th ranked Bruins. Yes, I said 13th ranked. UCLA comes in, ranked number 13, which is just shocking to everybody. They're 11-point chalk. They're playing Fresno State. Fresno's lost to Oregon, but they beat Cal Poly. They're 2-0 against the number. They have a knack for keeping games close when they're double-digit dogs, especially the plethora of Pac-12 schools they've played over the years. Well, UCLA, they beat Hawaii, they beat LSU, which was their statement win, and then they took last week off. Well, they came into this season with really high hopes and big expectations. Dorian Thompson-Robinson is starting to mature finally in his fourth year at the helmet quarterback. He doesn't turn the ball over. He's smart with the ball, but it's Zach Charbonnet right now, the Michigan transfer in the backfield right now, who's leading the charge for UCLA. 223 yards rushing in 2 games, 4 touchdowns, and he hasn't even carried the ball 30 times yet. So, he's ripping off big numbers. UCLA right now is doing it on the ground, and they're doing it with defense. Nobody talks about how good their defense is, but they're converting, they're getting it done, and that's what's going to slow down Fresno to allow UCLA to get the cover. Take the Bruins, lay the 11, and sure enough, Bruins cover. 10:30 p.m. Eastern time, Iowa State heads to UNLV. This one is just Iowa State hasn't played well. They beat Northern Iowa, then they were blown out by Iowa. They haven't covered either number. UNLV is just trash. UNLV is just a high school team. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to move the ball. This game's at Allegiant Stadium where the Raiders play. We all saw the game on Monday night. The stadium's beautiful, this and that. UNLV has no business playing there. They're a glorified high school team. Iowa State, 14th ranked Cyclones, get their groove back. They're 31.5 point chalk. I don't like to lay that kind of number, but I am in this instance because of how bad UNLV is. Lay the lumber, watch Iowa State dance. Finally, Degenerates Unite. Donnie O, my favorite degenerate. You guys just can't get enough. You guys love the Degenerate special. The late night game. This is actually a Sunday start. It starts at 12:30 p.m. Eastern time, 9:30 on the left coast. And what does that mean? They're in Honolulu. The Rainbow Warriors are playing in Hawaii against San Jose State. San Jose State comes in 7-point chalk. They got wins over Southern Utah and lost to USC. That loss to USC is completely... San Jose State led that game early in the fourth quarter before USC got a couple late touchdowns. Hawaii lost to UCLA, beat Portland State, then lost to Oregon State. San Jose State's offense is just going to be too much. Hawaii won't be able to keep up. Take San Jose State, lay the 7 for your Degenerate special, of which I'm 0-2. I've yet to win a Degenerate special so far this season. So we're hoping San Jose State gets us in the win column. That's it for college football. That's 18 plays. That's a lot. Now we're going to move on to the NFL, and we're going to go rapid fire. We're going to start NFL Sunday. 49ers at Philadelphia. That's the noon kickoff, the noon start. Anyway, 49ers, 3-point favorites at Philly. The 49ers are coming in after beating Detroit last week. They had the famous meltdown. Everybody saw it. I had them, laid the 9. They won by 7, or they won by 8, didn't cover, just completely crushed everyone. But anyway, 49ers get things back together. Philly beat Atlanta last week, who's shit. They're not a good team. Philly isn't a very good team either. A lot of people are saying, we don't know what to know. We don't know what to make of Philly. I do. They're not good. They're not good. 49ers are going to go right through them. This game will not be close. This game has blowout potential. Moving on. Bears at home against Cincinnati. This game right here is a game normally I wouldn't touch. 2 bad football teams not going anywhere. But I see very good value here in the Bears. The Bears are 2.5-point chalk at home. They lost to the Rams on Sunday night. Nobody really expected them to beat the Rams in their opener at SoFi with fans. Cincinnati did beat Minnesota. Looked impressive doing it. Joe Burrow's back. He's got Jamar Chase. I just don't see it. Cincinnati still has a lot of work to do. Defensively, they're not very good. And Chicago gets the win here. Lay the 2.5. Bears win easily. Moving on, Indianapolis versus the Rams. The Rams come in as 3.5-point favorites to the Hoosier Dome, to the RCA Dome in Indianapolis. The Rams beat Chicago, beat them up on Sunday night, made it look pretty easy. And Seattle pretty much beat Indianapolis fairly easily too. But I got upset alert here. This is where my upset alert comes in. Indiana plus 3.5 at home against the Rams. I'm going to take the Colts. I like them. This is a good spot for them to surprise a lot of people and just keep things kind of on a level playing field. They're going to run the ball, Jonathan Taylor, right? And the Indianapolis defense will do enough to keep this game close enough that they can steal it late. If you want to take a flyer and take them on the money line, it's not a bad bet. Moving on, Buffalo versus Miami. The Bills head down to South Florida to take on the Finns. Miami beat New England last week in a low-scoring, practically unwatchable 17-16 game over New England. Buffalo lost to Pittsburgh. The Steelers put it on them defensively, and Buffalo couldn't get moving. This is where all that turns around. This is one of those instances of a team that lost last week is going to bounce back in a big way, and a very good team that lost in week 1 is going to bounce back in a very big way. Buffalo wins. Josh Allen goes berserk, and Buffalo wins. Lay the 3.5. Raiders at Steelers. They're playing at the Giant Ketchup Bottle in Pitt. Both teams can score. Pittsburgh's defense completely stifled Buffalo last week, but I don't see them slowing down this Raider offense. Raider offense right now is moving, and they're going to put a lot of faith in the hands of Derek Carr, who's playing very well, and if they get Josh Jacobs going, they can score even more. So don't worry about the spread. Don't worry about any of that. Just take the over. Between Roethlisberger and Carr, they will light it up. This game goes over 47 and goes over it fairly easy. As one team hits 30, the other one hits the high 20s. So this game's going to come close to 60. Anyway, Raiders, Steelers over 47. Moving on, Carolina at home, 3.5-point dogs to New Orleans. The Saints come in after completely throttling Green Bay in the surprise of the week last week, which nobody saw coming. And they take on Carolina, who beat the Jets and got me a cover. Carolina's 3.5-point dogs at home. I like home dogs. Again, another 3.5-point dog. All the games that I bet so far in the NFL, 3, 2.5, 3.5, 3.5, and here's another 3.5. Carolina at 3.5. It's just the odds makers don't know what to do, so they're giving most home teams three points, and that's it, right? Or their home teams are laying 3. Anyway, Carolina plus 3.5. You know, for some strange reason, they got a very good chance of going 2-0. If they don't, they lose this game by a field goal, it's all right. New Orleans isn't as good as they showed last week. They're a good team, but they're not as good. They're going to get beat. This is another upset pick for me. I have 3 of them this week. That's number 2. 3.5-point chalk at home. Take the Panthers. Moving on, Denver. 6-point favorites at Jacksonville. Jacksonville was humiliated by Houston. Denver beat the New York Giants, who are the New York Giants. We saw them last night. They weren't all that. Jacksonville's just not good. It's going to take a while. Denver's defense is too good. They're going to run the ball. They're going to play smart. Denver's 6-point chalk. We're going to lay all 6 of them and take the Broncos. Minnesota heads down to the valley of... heads down to the valley, the desert. It's no joke. Arizona Arizona came out here last week to Nashville and just thoroughly throttled, completely dismantled the Titans, who are a good team and are going to be a playoff team. But Arizona went right through them like they weren't even there. Minnesota, on the other hand, lost to Cincinnati. So Zona is the right pick at 3.5-point favorites at home. Of course, Arizona's the right pick. No. Actually, four big underdog picks, upset picks. This is another one. Minnesota right here. Take the 3.5 in Arizona. They could win outright. They could surprise them. I like Minnesota. Arizona is a very good team, but they're not as good as most people think. They'll be 9-8 or 10-7, which is a good number, but it's a 17 games schedule now, so you got to remember that. Anyway, take Minnesota plus the 3.5. My next game is my next upset pick. And I've got Dallas plus 3.5 at the Chargers. The Chargers are 3.5-point chalk based on their win over Washington. Dallas lost to Tampa Bay. That wasn't a surprise. The surprise was how well they played. Not to me, because I took Dallas, took the points. Dallas is a good football team who's had a week and a half to prepare. The Chargers are playing Washington. They did get a little beaten up. I like Dallas just to keep scoring and keep the pressure on, and Dallas to win this game outright. Take the 3.5, bet Dallas on the money line. Sunday night, Baltimore at Kansas City. This could be construed as another upset pick, but I'm not, because there's two things. Kansas City is coming off a win over Cleveland, in which they didn't cover, and Patrick Mahomes has never lost a game in the month of September. That's an incredible stat. He's never lost in the month of September. And he might not lose. He probably won't lose this Sunday. But anybody that takes the Chiefs, and everybody seems to think the Chiefs are this juggernaut who goes out every single week and covers numbers. They haven't been covering, period. They just don't, right? I'm going to take Baltimore. Baltimore, yes, they're coming off a short week. They played the Raiders on Monday night, right? But they're at home. The fans are going to be jacked. They're going to be fired up. I like the Ravens plus the 3.5, even though they're banged up. Take the points, because Kansas City right now is not covering numbers. They're just not, period. Finally, the last game on the board, Monday Night Football. This is the one that you can bet your house on. Lock of the week. Green Bay at home, minus 11.5 against Detroit. Green Bay was throttled by the Bears Green Bay was throttled by New Orleans last week. They come back home and they play Detroit, a team that never wins at Lambeau. And now they're facing another team that lost last week that's very good and is going to be a playoff team and that is going to win the NFC North. Packers roll. Aaron Rodgers. You can already see it Monday night and all day Sunday. All the pundits and everybody's going to be talking about Aaron Rodgers is the greatest. He's a Hall of Famer. He's the best thing there's ever. Screw Aaron Rodgers. He will have big night, though, on Monday night. So take the pack, roll with him. I'm just not an Aaron Rodgers fan. But he will have a big night. Take the pack, and that'll close it up. 11 NFL plays, 18 NCAA plays. That's 29 picks for the week free. I don't charge you anything. All these picks are free. Let's have a big week. Let's hit them hard. And let's not forget our philosophies. Number one, in order to win big, you got to bet big. Number two, to me, the action is the juice. Number three, there's money on the streets that can't be ignored. And finally, good luck to you.